Hello and welcome to The Sweetest Little Life. I am so glad you're here. I am your host, Courtney Hanson. With each week, we will have exciting new guests to grow spiritually, develop personally, and learn how to step into our purpose authentically. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 30 minutes of connection with the mind, body, and spirit. Hello and welcome to The Sweetest Little Life. I am so excited to have this conversation with you today and be able to just connect on a really deep level with you. And I am such a nerd about stories, and I just like to really know who you are on a spirit level before we even dive in. So will you introduce yourself? Because you can do it way better than I can.
Hi, Courtney. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited about this conversation today. Who am I?
It's a loaded question.
Well, I'm a seeker, I've always been since I was a little person. And, I've been on this journey really, actually, I think to find myself and to find my purpose. What is the reason why my soul is here on this planet at this time? And I've done that exploration in lots of different ways. I'm also a manifesting generator, so I kind of keep, reinventing myself.
Same.
But right now, I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 4 beautiful children. And I love my parenting. But, as I was approaching 50, because I'm 52 years old now, so I was approaching 50, I was really feeling like I needed to use my brain, my talents, my gifts in a different way. And I went on a deep soul searching journey. And what happened is I found my voice. Mm-hmm. And I kind of answered this nudge, this call, this urge that I had to start a podcast. And so last year we launched Holy Schmidt, and which is a pun, WHOLEY, holy. And well, the whole purpose of the podcast for me was inviting people into a community where we could really honor each other's stories and connect with each other around the real moments in our lives. And we could do it in a way where we could speak authentically and honestly without any fear about, did I say it right? Did I use the right word? Might I offend you? So that we could just connect. Mm-hmm. And I did that. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I forgot to hit the focus. I started the podcast by just modeling that storytelling. And in about 17 episodes, we cover lots of different moments in my own life, my own Holy Schmidt moments, and we talk to others about theirs. And then I talk to my mom about some Holy Schmidt moments, and I do a couple roundtables with my amazing team that I've been working with around their Holy Schmidt moments, and we've been sort of living into this world of how do we all live really authentically in community together.
Yeah, which is definitely the work, right?
Yeah.
So what was the moving point for you that you were like, okay, I'm going to take this all and I'm going to deliver it super publicly? Because there is this bravery that has to happen with that. I think that's a lot of people's halt moment with starting anything, right?
Yeah. I can remember being in 6th or 7th grade and feeling like I had something I needed to say. And that feeling never went away. But I spent a lot of decades trying to say those things in very conventional ways. So I went to grad school. I studied psychology. I got married. I had children. I had a career. I tried to do big things in my work life. I tried to find ways to create spaces where people felt safe. I did it with development, with philanthropy, with all these different ways. And I just got to a point, as I was hitting that big milestone of turning 50, my youngest was finally going off to kindergarten. I have 3 adopted children, and I had my first biological child at 44. There are 4 Holy Schmidt moments right there. But he was going off to kindergarten. I was turning 50 and I was feeling like my brain just needed something. And I really thought I was going to like find my next career. And I hired a coach to help me kind of explore that. And she's like, yeah, I can help you find, and we can figure out what to do next. But first, I'd like to take you on kind of a journey inward. And I started doing some really serious work with a practice of internal family systems. And I got real clear. I got so clear that it wasn't about being brave or courageous. Like I could not hear the voice that was saying, yes, like this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And there's something about being 50 that is beautiful. There's so many things about it that are beautiful, I have to say, but I didn't care. I didn't really care what anybody thought about it. Like it wasn't about getting affirmation or how I might be received or how many people might listen. I needed to say something. And I felt like if I didn't do it, I might die. Like, I mean, not literally. Well, maybe literally. I don't know. I mean, I spent so many years not saying a lot of things, not doing a lot of things, not being the human that I knew I was, right? Playing small, trying to be demure, trying to say it in a nice way, trying not to be too outspoken. And I didn't want to do it anymore. Yeah. And so I didn't. I stopped. And I just said it. And with that came this insane level of joy and freedom. Like I didn't even know freedom could be. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it took some balls, but really, I think when you know your own truth, it's hard to unknow.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can see me watering up over here. I'm over here crying at your story because I'll tell you why in a minute, but I have like full body chills right now. And the universe is.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that because I have some chills too. And right now it's right here. I'm pointing to my throat, right? It's like it's like this lump in my throat, and it's a sense of like, one of my holy Schmidt moments is I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 20. I mean, I'm so healthy right now. I'm like the healthiest I've ever been, the fittest, the healthiest, the happiest.
And you look amazing.
All these things. But, Courtney, I know that life is short. And I just bought a new couch and I recognize that I'll be sitting on that couch when I turn 60 probably, right? I didn't want to try to tamp it down anymore. I actually felt like that's what I was suffering from, is this constriction everywhere. I'm 5'10", I have red hair, I have a loud voice, I have a lot of opinions, I'm very smart. I have a lot of confidence in a lot of areas, and I was playing really fucking small.
Yeah.
And I was trying to do all the things, and I was so unhappy. And I had this beautiful life. I mean, the optics of my life are gorgeous, and I wasn't finding joy in it. I wasn't enjoying it. Gorgeous children, and I couldn't laugh as hard as I wanted to with them. And I didn't want to do it anymore. Mm. And so I just there was a moment where I was like, let's fucking go. Pardon my French. And
that's my favorite word.
It's my good. Yeah. I just bought all of my team and best friends these mugs that say, fuck this, fuck that. I just love it. I love it. They say really smart people swear. I didn't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. It wasn't serving me, and I wasn't serving the world. So we started with this itty bitty little Instagram account that I think I had 180 followers that were all friends and family, because I have this massive family in Wisconsin of 100 first cousins.
Oh my gosh.
And we organically grew an account, and we launched a podcast, and we put it out on YouTube, and we got, and all of a sudden people started saying, yes, more. Can I tell you about? Have you considered this? Oh my God, what you said made me think. And I was like, yeah, there you go.
Mission accomplished.
That was long. I'm sorry. It was a little long-winded, but
that was good. Well, you had me crying. So
that
I
wasn't
have to tell you something. So, oh my gosh, that was you had me there for a minute. I'm like stumbling. Last night, I'm pregnant right now and I'm older. And this was like, I had a tumor removed 2 years ago. And they told me that like they had to remove my right fallopian tube, and they're like, you're not gonna be able to have kids anymore. And our plan was always to have 4. And I was like, okay, I have 3 healthy kids. I'm good. I'm done. I'm just going to focus on my career. I'm going to build this for the community. I'm going to go all in. And so that's exactly what we did. My husband got on board. We were just like, okay, like, let's just focus. And then I found out early in August that I was pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, like, how am I, like, we're in it right now. Right. So I'm like, we sold our house to fund the business, to expand. So I'm living in an RV with my family and my dogs. My dog got pregnant and had 9 puppies in the RV. And then I find out I'm pregnant. And I'm like, what do I do with this? Right. And so, they say that right before something good happens, all these things happen, right? All these lessons happen to, build resilience or teach you the things that like there's those gaps. And I feel like that's happened so much over this past month. And I've just wanted to quit. Like, I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, where this time last year, I had really understood what community was, because when we expanded, everyone came together, and the support that I felt and the true love that I felt was just so overwhelming. And I never felt that before, because I'm estranged from my parents. We have a very tiny family. And so it was like, that was the first time that I felt like, oh my gosh, this is my family. This is incredible. And so last night I had a breaking point. I was crying and I'm journaling, and I'm like, okay, my why was my children, but yet I'm working so much that I don't really get time with my children because I'm having to work so much and throw myself into all these projects. But I've lost sight of the things that I love, like writing and podcasting and doing these things. I took like almost a year break from the podcast, stopped writing completely, all of these major things that are parts of me that are so much. So when you said IFS, I was like, I am tripping out right now, because that's what I did. So I sat and I went through all the F's and I just went with it. And I was like, okay. And what came to me was that I made myself too accessible. And I don't think people talk about this enough within, especially be a manifesting generator, because we're meant to pivot. We're meant to start things and maybe not even necessarily finish them, but to create all these projects and just to keep going and following what comes to us. And I stopped doing that because I got so in this rat race. And so when you were talking, it was just such a reminder that like, we can go at any point. We don't need, like, we're always waiting for something. And I feel like at any chance of the day, you're allowed to make a decision to do something differently. Right. And I don't think we give ourselves that permission slip enough. So you almost had me ugly crying there for a minute.
Well, it was really, so we launched the podcast in April 4th. Actually, we launched our first episode. And, I had put the stake in the ground, and I had said, like, I am going to be the most authentic version of myself. And in every episode, I tell a story about a little piece of my life and how I come to understand my own Holy Schmidt moments and how they've made me who I am. And every week I would hear my own voice saying these things about who I am and who I want to be. And the universe came right back at me, literally, and said, really? Really? That's who you are? Because here's a bunch of things that are not aligned. Here are the ways in which you are not walking the talk. I joke with people that if you ever want a really good accountability coach, launch a podcast and start talking about your shit. Because there's nothing more powerful than hearing your own voice declare publicly who you are or what you're going to do, right?
Right.
Well, the day before I launched, the day before we dropped the second episode, I filed for divorce. Because what came back so clearly for me was, this is not aligned. Mm-hmm. And it hadn't been aligned, Courtney, and it had been, there's so much I could say about it, but what I knew was, I had to let go of all kinds of things.
Yeah.
All kinds of things. And so it's been fascinating to both launch a podcast, and every week we would have a new episode. And then I was going through this huge, massive transformation. It became a whole physical transformation too, because what I didn't expect was that this would force me to look at all of the things I was holding on to that weren't meant for me. All the resentment, all the sadness I wasn't processing, all the fear that was controlling my life, all the bitterness I had about all the things I was talking about and trying to put such a positive spin on them, but I was still, holding. And I started literally like metabolizing all of these things and letting go and shedding. Yeah, I also I lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
No,
That's like not a small journey there.
No, but I mean, what happened was I just started really challenging myself on a daily basis. Okay, this is who you say you are. What would she do today? How would she spend the day? What would her mindset be? How would she nourish herself? How would she move her body? How would she be breathing right now? How would she handle this conflict? How would she show up in this challenging moment? And it was like this amazing process and opportunity that, I joke because was it a podcast? I don't know. It was a lot of fun. But I'll tell you, 17 episodes later, I am so full of joy and contentment and a sense of peace with who I am and where I've been and what I've done and how I've lived and all those things. And I live with more freedom than I ever imagined I could possibly have. And I don't mean freedom to do whatever I want. I mean freedom from all the constraints that I had attached myself to that I thought I needed, right?
Yeah.
To prove, I don't know. I tell everybody God, I can't wait till you're 50. It's going to be fucking amazing.
Someone asked me, it was like 2 weeks ago, and they're like, if you could go back to being in your 20s, would you? And I was word vomited out. I was like, God, no, never.
Oh.
I was broke. I was struggling. I was a hot mess. I was an alcoholic. No. And so it's so funny because you hear 50 is the age that you just stop giving a fuck. You're just this is my life and I'm going to live it the way I want to. And I can't wait to get there.
Well, I actually really, really give a fuck, but about the right things now.
Yeah.
I care more deeply than I've ever cared before about the right things.
Yeah. Did you feel a pivot after you turned 50? Could you start to feel different than you did in your 40s? Or was it just a very natural transformation, or were you boom?
I talk about this in the podcast. I talk about finding purpose after 50. And leading up to the big birthday, I really had this I had an image of how I wanted to look, right? I was focused on the optics. And I got really fit. I got really svelte. I got, it was all how do I want to feel on the day? But I wasn't in my body. It wasn't in my body. And what I recognized is that I hadn't really been living in my body for a really, really long time. I was living right here in my head. I had this I talk about having a steel plate between my, in the middle of my neck, kind of disconnecting me from my body. And there's a big story about why I've felt so disconnected from my body. But
yeah,
what happened was I recognized how, I was skinny and miserable. And it was wait, I was supposed to be happy. Why? And this coach that I was working with invited me to answer the why and go back in my body, get back in my body. And so I started to just slowly experience all the emotions that I was so afraid of that I thought actually were going to kill me. I remember the first day that I kind of sat in quiet and did kind of an exercise to figure out where I was feeling something in my body, and I thought I was going to die. And it turns out I was just sad, right? And then it didn't kill me. But I was living from that place of fear and separateness.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started connecting back, getting, being more embodied, we talk about that all the time, right? That's like a little buzzword right now.
Oh, absolutely.
As soon as I became more embodied, then moving and living and deciding and acting from that place was so seamless, right? And yeah, things started to move pretty quickly. I mean, first it was all about the podcast, and it was a kind of a shift in how I thought about my role as a parent. It took me a little longer to really get clear about what I needed to do about my marriage. That was harder.
How old are your kids?
Well, so my 3 that I have adopted are 31, 19, and 16.
Okay.
And then my youngest is 8.
Oh, well. Yeah.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. We hop, skip, and jumped there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big story about each one of them, but yeah. I had my youngest when I was 44.
Yeah, being pregnant older is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, I don't know. I was never pregnant younger, but I'll tell you, being pregnant older, it was okay. I mean, I'm so glad I have him, but I'm a one and done on that one.
Yeah. I've been super sick this whole pregnancy, and I'm like, what is it?
How old are you, Courtney?
I'm 38.
Okay.
But I also haven't been pregnant in 6 years, and I had my first at 21. So I started very young.
Yeah.
So hence why I will not go back to my 20s because.
Right. Right.
Would you mind, or would you be open to talking a little bit about your divorce and really that glow up and how you managed through that time? I ask because I know so many people right now going through a divorce who listen to the show, and people who have written in, and it's, like I said, this could not be more aligned in so many ways. And I know this is a different direction, but I know there are a lot of women that are really struggling and feeling just lost and almost in limbo right now and not knowing what to do, or feeling like they want to leave, but they're scared to leave, but they feel very complacent about things. And then newly divorced people who are just stuck. Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for that? I know it's a really loaded question.
It's okay. No, it's okay. I'm trying to think about where to start. I guess what I want to say is, could you give yourself some grace? We have created this construct called marriage and put all kinds of expectations on it. One of which is that you're going to meet the perfect person and you're going to be together for your entire lives. But then we also have this expectation that as you grow, and I mean, as you age, you're going to grow, right? You got to be on this path of enlightenment, development. If, those of us that have the privilege to think about things like what's the meaning of life and why are we here, are going to probably shift and change during the course of our lives. And then shit's going to happen, right? You're going to change careers. You're going to move to a new city. Your parents are going to die. A kid is going to get sick. I mean, you're going to, all these things are going to happen, but you're supposed to stay with that person, and they're supposed to be your person, and they're on their own journey. Might not be at the same time as you, right? Right? Yeah. They might not be journeying with you, I mean, I'm sorry, but give yourself some fucking grace. Because I think we've been sold this myth, and I have aunts and uncles and my grandparents who were married for decades, but it was a different time. Yeah. And marriage was a different construct. And I celebrate people who can spend their entire lives with the same person. I think it's amazing and it's beautiful, but you know what? It's not for everybody. And I mean, you're allowed to change your career. You're allowed to move to a new city. You're allowed to think, you can change your political affiliation, right? You can convert to a different religion. Mm-hmm. But God forbid you wake up one day and you look at this person and you say, I can't do this anymore. Nope. That you got to just stick it out. And I get kind of angry. I get kind of lit up because for me, I tried for a really, really, really long time. I was obsessed with trying everything I possibly could to try to make this work. I tried really hard. I mean, I could give you a lot. If I told you all the things that I did and we did, you'd be like, whoa. Because I've actually been divorced twice. So, I didn't want to get divorced again, right?
Right.
Because that's a real, well, then what the fuck is wrong with me, right? But there came a day, and I'm not going to share all the details around this, but there came a day where I saw very clearly, and he showed me very clearly how this was not going to work.
Yeah.
And it was not aligned. And I moved forward. I grabbed a few people and I pulled them close and I said, I need your support here. And here's what that needs to look like. And I just kept taking a step every day in the direction of, I know this isn't right. I'm not sure what is, but I got to move in that direction. I can't do this anymore. And yeah, it's so hard. And, depending on your circumstances, it can be harder. Co-parenting isn't simple. We don't make divorce easy in this country, in any country, really. Actually, it's probably easier in the United States than it is in a lot of countries, right? But it's expensive. We assume there's going to be a fight. Everybody's got a lawyer up. It's just all the things, right? But I guess what I would say to somebody who's in that place of like wanting to make that choice, I would just invite them to consider giving themselves a little more compassion. Just sitting with the feeling. Because if you sit in the feeling long enough, and I don't know what the feeling is for people that are listening to this, it may be sadness or resentment or loneliness or betrayal, or I don't know what it is. But if you just sit with it and you listen to your body and what it's telling you, I think you'll find some wisdom there. And then your job is just to trust it. I think we talk a lot about, we should all trust the universe, right? Trust that the universe has our back. But it's one thing to say that, and it's another thing to live from that place.
Oh, yeah.
We talk a lot about like what is meant for you will find you. We can say that very easily, but are we really willing to stand on the edge alone, hoping that it's going to show up, right? Trusting that it's going to be there. It's a real act of faith. I think it takes a lot of bravery. I think it takes a lot of courage. The people who came to me and they were like, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I heard. I'm so sorry. I'm like, please, no. Congratulate me for doing something that was really courageous. Like, stand with me in that place.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a long-winded answer. And there's no easy, like.
Just when you touched on that, I was just like, we've had a lot of people write in explaining that that's what they're going through this year. And it's been kind of a theme.
Yeah.
And so just when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, we can't not touch on this.
The other thing I would say is if you've already made the decision and you're in it, use it as a way to learn as much as you can about yourself. I recognize that once the divorce was final, my opportunity to learn a lot of things would have passed, right? Because the person you choose to partner with is going to be your greatest teacher. And all the things that he or she triggers in you, you have something to understand there. That's on you. And so I really dug deep and decided that I was going to use it as my own personal growth experience. And I wanted to be sure that when the day came that we knew the judgment was final, that I had milked it for all I could possibly learn about where I went wrong.
Yeah.
What I needed to do differently in the world, what mistakes I made. We weren't going to get back together but I was going to try to learn the learnings that I needed to learn so that I could be the best me going forward. Because, we have a kid together, so there's a co-parenting component here, and I got to be better about some things. The things that I sucked at in the marriage we're going to make the co-parenting harder. So I decided to work on that as we were divorcing. And, that for me became a challenge that I some days looked forward to. Like, what am I going to learn today? Right? I kind of spun it that way. Get out of the shame spiral, let it go, give yourself some, cut yourself some slack, and learn what you need to learn. Be responsible for the choice. You're an adult. You get to make choices. Now take responsibility for it. Put your big girl pants on. And, let's go.
Yeah.
And those are some of the talks that I had with myself over the last year.
What were the 3 things that got you, for people who are listening, who are struggling with like getting into the body when we talk about that? I know you said IFS, which is huge, but if someone is not familiar with IFS, do you have any other tips for people who are like so up here right now and just can't get into their body to even feel that sadness or that grief or that shame?
Well, I started in a very simple way, right? I would be like upset about something, right? Okay. And I could tell myself the story about why I was upset, what had happened, what was irritating me. And I would find myself kind of ruminating on the story, right? Kind of retelling the story. And then, and oh my God, I can't believe it, whether I was telling somebody else or just, in my own head. What I learned was when I got activated like that, and we all know what that feels like when you're activated. It's a little bit of an adrenaline rush. Your heart starts to race. You get a little bit flushed. It's the fight or flight. I trained myself to stop. And I would ask myself, where am I experiencing this in my body? Okay, often it helps to just sit down or lay down, right? Deep breaths into your belly.
Breathing's important.
Deep breaths into your belly, and I would do a little bit of a body scan. Okay. Trying to place the emotion. Where is it? Now, I'm a big person, like I'm a big gut person. Like I feel a lot of stuff in my gut.
Feel that.
But I also experience a lot of tension and tightness in my hips. Women tend to hold a lot of grief and sadness in our hips, just different places. So I would then dial in, like focus in on where I'm feeling it. So now I'm like kind of asking myself, what is the sensation, right? If it's in my stomach, is it nausea? Is it like a rock in your gut? What is it? And just get curious. Just try to be curious, not judgmental. I'm just curious about it. And then, and this is where it starts to sound a little bit crazy, but I think it's brilliant. I started to talk to it. So I would talk to my sadness. And I would say things like, it's okay. Like, what do you want to say today? What do you need me to know? What can I do to help you feel better? And just that simple act of being in communication with the feeling and knowing where it is and experiencing the sensations, all of a sudden it's not as scary anymore, right? Now I'm not activated. I mean, even listen to my voice, right? Now I'm feeling a sense of calm, right? A sense of certainty, a sense of safety in myself, with myself. And you can do that anywhere. You don't have to lay down. You can do it in your car. You can be walking down the street and you could do this. Yeah. But for me, it was cultivating the pause, the moment when I knew I was activated, being able to pause and know I needed to go inward. Yeah. So now this is like secondhand. I mean, I woke up one morning last week and I was like, God, I am really sad. This is crazy. What's going on? I mean, it just hit me like a ton of bricks when I got out of bed in the morning. And in like 7 minutes while I was feeding my dogs and emptying the dishwasher, I did this little exercise that I just described to you. And I had a little chat with the sadness and I was like, hey, we got some shit to do today. So why don't you come along with me? And let's just be together today. And I think like we aren't good at this in our world. We don't teach kids. We are starting. I mean, now we teach kids. We talk about your big feelings and I can handle them and all this stuff. But I don't know about
Yes.
you, but when I was a little kid, my mother used to say,
Wasn't a thing.
my mom was like, you know, when you go to your room and when you stop crying, you can come back out and join the family.
Yep.
Right? Or she would be like, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to take a picture of you. I mean, she was doing her best. Okay. And there's a great podcast where you'll see how much I love her and she loves me. And we've worked through all kinds of hard things and she's a genius. And I can't even tell you how great she is. But there were moments in my childhood where she could have really done a few things differently.
Yeah.
And, you know,
But that was the norm too. Like
that was totally the norm.
that
All
was
of
what
my
they
friends.
knew.
I mean, I wasn't being hit. So, you know, I mean, I'm not joking. I mean, it was better than some of I mean, I know.
Yeah.
But if you weren't taught this, then you are responsible for teaching yourself. It's not an excuse. You know, oh, well, my parents didn't teach me that. Well, yeah, they also didn't teach you how to speak Spanish. But if you want to go to Mexico, you should probably learn, right?
Couple words.
Right? So I think, you know, taking responsibility, right?
Yeah.
This is your job now to be a really high functioning adult and really healthy in relationships. There are some things you need to do. And one of them is you got to figure out how to feel your feelings.
Yeah. And to experience secure attachment in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Like, I love that you bring up responsibility because that's something that we have to do because we can't make our partners responsible for our happiness because that's not their job, right?
No, it's not. You know, I've been working a lot on loneliness lately because being divorced is, you know, everything's sort of new. The first holidays, and, you know, I've been experiencing a lot of loneliness and I've been working on being a really great companion to my own loneliness. You know, I'm extraordinary when my kids are sad or lonely or upset, or I'm now just doing that for me.
Yeah.
And I just find it so fascinating how it's so simple, but it's not. It's so
It's the
simple.
doing it.
It's the doing. When I break it down, like you're like, well, how would you do that? It's so easy, right? You're like, oh, but it doesn't come naturally to many of us because we've been so programmed to do, right?
And not stop.
Perform, achieve, whatever, pretend.
Yes.
I mean, like this whole idea, like who's going to like me if I'm sad, you know, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of feel like part of being a grown-up is just like, yeah, sit yourself down and have a little chat with yourself, you know. And
I love that you bring up breath like right away too, because I think that's something that's like, it is so simple, but it's crazy how like, you know, I'm a somatic therapist. I do this for a living. And yet I like last night I had a really rough day and I was all panicky and my angry journal writing I was telling you about. And like, what am I doing with my life? Like it was a very dramatic moment for me. And I noticed, I was like, oh my God, I'm breathing so in my chest right now and it's so shallow. And I knew like cognitively that I needed to take a deep breath and send it down to my sacral. And I was like, all right, you got to sit and breathe. But I was like, I don't want to sit and breathe. I'm journaling. I'm doing something.
Yeah.
And so it's like this simple shift that for some reason is such a struggle when you're in it.
It is. And, you know, you have to make a commitment to just being in it. And you have to make a commitment to like, you know, it's like, you know, the first time you go to the gym, it's going to feel awkward. Okay.
Yeah.
And the weights are going to be heavy and the next day you're going to be sore. But if you have a goal of being more healthy or more fit or building muscle, you got to suck it up and go back. Right. And you're not going to, I don't know anybody who thinks that one workout is going to change their life. Right. Well, it's the same thing here. You've got to learn to flex the muscle of integration. You've got to flex the muscle of embodiment. You can't it's not just about doing it once. It's the daily, right? It's the daily. It's the everyday. I don't just eat one meal a week, right? I nourish my body multiple times during the day. Well, I have to practice this too. It's just like, it's like anything. And yet, for some reason, these things don't necessarily come naturally to us, right? So we have to work a little harder. But once you start doing it, right, I swear to God, it gets easier. It gets so easy that it will become second nature. And then it's really cool. It's so cool because now I kind of walk through the world and I kind of have this like, bring it on. I feel so resilient that I'm not afraid of stress. I'm not really afraid of anything because I have this sense of myself as being very, very capable and not like I used to think of myself as being capable. I mean, I'm like emotionally capable. And like that, I think, is one of the greatest things about being a human. And the things that our world needs the most is people who have this emotional capability.
Oh, amen to that.
I say this
Have
to
your
my kids.
relationships changed since you've been in this,
Oh,
in this
yeah.
space? Like friendships, all that?
It's amazing to me how the friends that I have had, they've deepened. There's so much more depth to how we are together.
Yeah.
You know? But I've also attracted so many new people into my life who feel like they've been friends my whole life. Like my circle has widened in ways and deepened in ways that I never would have expected, but it's like it actually blows my mind. It actually blows my mind how the whole effort toward like just being a little more integrated, a little more embodied, a little more bold, just being a little more clear, a little more courageous, a little more me, right? Just being more me has opened up my world in ways like I honestly couldn't have imagined.
It's powerful.
And I worry sometimes when I talk about it, it's like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Well, it is amazing. And it's been really hard work, but it's been fun work, right? Because it's all about like this, oh man, I just don't, it's hard to explain, but I mean, some days I feel like some days I feel like I'm two again. Like, think about yourself as two when you're 2 or 3 years old, when you have all the confidence in the world, right? No one can fuck with you. You know what you want. You clearly state it. You accept nothing but that. It's all optimism. It's all out there, right? You'll never meet a 2-year-old who's trying to pretend like there's something they're not.
Right.
Okay. I have these moments now that are more frequent than not where I can experience myself as that. And I'm not just like alone in a room. I'm in the world feeling that way. So aligned, so integrated, so whole. And I just think, I mean, oh my God, what else is there? Like
so much more.
Bring it on, bring it on. What else?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we get what, our energy goes where our attention is at too. So if we're only focused on all these horrific things happening or all of these situational things, because that's what it is, right? Like life is situational. It can change at any point. And if we're only focused on that, that's all we're going to get more of because that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And so I just love your perspective on being able to focus on like making this such a positive thing because growing is really fun and being able to look back at like who you were 5 years ago to who you are sitting here today. Like, I think that's so badass that we have the capability to mold and morph that much into a different person. Mm-hmm. Just like the human body in general.
I mean, it's breathtaking and it's a privilege, I mean, I think that's probably where my greatest joy comes from is the experience of feeling like the experience of knowing I might not make it. Right. So never far from me in my mind, in my body is the awareness of how privileged I am to be sitting in this seat today talking to you. Because when I was 20 years old, I thought I was going to die. Right? And I don't think we need a near-death experience to get here. Many of us don't. But for me, it's just a little extra nudge. And maybe that's where a lot of my gratitude comes from too. Like I would rather be in the hard than not be here. right? So I'll take the hard. I'm happy to take the hard because I would like to be here. And I just I guess I want people also to just have a sense of like, I really believe that we aren't life is going to present you with the things and my friend Peter Crone says this all the time. Life is going to present you with the people and the circumstances you need to learn the things you're going to need to learn, right? And you have a choice when you want to learn them, but life is going to keep presenting you with people and circumstances to learn the things you need to learn. We just, let's go with it.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. And let's do it all together. And let's talk about it. And let's talk about how messy it is and how ugly it is sometimes and how uncomfortable it is and how, all those things. Let's just do it together, Because I think the other piece is you don't have to do it in isolation.
Yes. And I think that's the most important part, is being able to know that everyone has messy. Everyone has messy.
Yeah. And it sometimes we look around and we think nobody has messy, but as soon as talk to enough people about something that feels messy in your life, and you will find someone who has something messy they want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
It's not going to be everyone, because this is kind of scary for some people. But I guarantee you, if you talk to 10 people, you'll find 2 that will want to get closer to you.
Yeah. I think community is the most important thing on your healing journey too, just to have that non-biased support as well, right? Like to have people to relate to and feel humanness with.
Yeah, right.
So, okay, your podcast, do you record weekly? How does your recording sequence work here?
Okay, we're doing it in seasons.
Okay, cool.
We launched season 1 last April. We wrapped it up in August. We are now we're recording season 2. We'll start launching those episodes after the new year.
Okay.
I think we're going to do probably about the same number, 15, 17, 19 episodes.
Okay.
And in the interim, we're doing a lot on Instagram. Holy Schmidt, WHOLEYSCHMIDT. The podcast is by the same name. We film our podcasts, and actually, the first season we filmed it very, very intentionally, like with a video crew. And you can watch it. You can watch the storytelling on YouTube.
That.
Yeah, on YouTube, but you can also listen to it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the places you get podcasts. And we're really trying to build a community of people who want to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
Who want to support each other, who want to get, dig a little deeper. And I'm excited about some of the interviews we're doing this season. And I've done quite a few, like the conversation we're having today, which is super fun for me. Because it's kind of neat for me to look back on the whole year and not just focusing on like one episode.
Yeah.
It's really a privilege. It's like, when somebody says, hey, I want to talk to you about this. I think, oh my God, me?
Yes, you.
How great is that?
So if someone in the audience right now is like, I need to connect with this woman yesterday, I've got questions, where's the best spot to find you?
So you can go to our website, holyschmidt.com, or find me on Instagram at Holy Schmidt. Send me a DM or send me an email. And reach out.
Perfect. I'll put everything in the show notes too. Thank you so much for diving deep with me today and just sharing so much of your story. I know this is going to help a lot of people. And this is definitely a theme I've seen. So the universe always provides. I just appreciate your time and your magic that you're bringing to the world. So thank you.
Well, this has been really fun for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have a takeaway or something from the conversation that really just resonated within your heart center, I would love to hear about it. Please leave it in the comment section so we can give you more of this content. As always, please subscribe, save, and sharing is caring. We love you to pieces. Have a beautiful and blessed day.